Welcome back to the Greenhouse Music Podcast.
The best music class you've ever heard. It's the best music class you've ever heard.
It's Miss Delana.
Hello, friends. This is the Greenhouse Music Podcast, and I am Miss Delana. Oh my goodness, I am so glad that you're here today because it is Mother's Day. And hopefully you are celebrating some time with your mama or a mother's figure in your life. Well, this weekend, if you are celebrating with someone you love, whether you love listening in the kitchen, in the car, on a walk, or curled up on the couch, I'm thrilled that you pressed play. And music makers, I've got a question for you today. Have you ever walked past the cafeteria at school and seen all the different clubs at their lunch tables? Like, over here is the art kids. Paint on their hands, sketchbooks everywhere. Over there is a sports team, all wearing the same jersey. Over there is a drama club, being, extra dramatic. And in the corner, the quiet poetry kids, scribbling in the notebooks. Or maybe you're homeschooled and you've been to a library and you've seen the section of children's books. Or maybe there's a mystery section. Or maybe there's a graphic novel section. Different categories are important sometimes. Every group has its own vibe, its own personality, and its own kind of cool. Well, kiddo, guess what? An orchestra, I know that's kind of a big word, it works exactly the same way. And by the end of the episode, you're going to know the 4 big clubs of the orchestra, what each one sounds like, what kind of personality each one has, and maybe which club that you would join if you were an instrument. So buckle up, music makers, and let's go inside the orchestra to learn all about it. Since I like analogies, I want you to imagine with me that we are walking through a huge school, but not just any school, it's a music school. The hallways are long and there's sound coming from out every door. We're going to peek into the 4 different rooms, the 4 different clubs that together make the orchestra. Club number 1. This is the biggest club in the school. They sit right up front in the orchestra because there's so many of them. Picture them in your head. The violin, the viola, the cello, the great big double bass, plus their elegant cousin, the harp, sitting off to the side with all those gorgeous strings. The strings are like the artsy, expressive kids. They can sing high and sweet like a tiny bird, or they can go dig deep and be emotional and captivating. Maybe sound like your heart is breaking, but in the best possible way. Now, have you ever cried in a movie? Like really cried? Okay, I'll be honest here. Every time I see the Baby Race episode of Bluey, I cry. They're happy tears, of course. But man, it gets me. Well, chances are the music is making me feel that big feeling. And in Bluey, that's definitely happening for me. Here's how they make their sound. A string is stretched tight across the instrument, and the player either drags a bow across it, or they pluck it with their fingers. That string is moving, and you know what I like to say, right? Movement creates vibration. Movement creates sound. The wood of the instrument shakes, and boom, there is music. Now, quick question, kiddo. Do you remember way back in episode 13 when I asked you to guess instrument families by their sound? The very first one was a violin, and that's a string instrument. Now we walk down the hall, and before we even get to the door, we hear them. That's right, it's the brass club. These are the older, bolder kids, the confident ones, the announcement makers. If somebody important is walking into a room, well, who plays the fanfare? The brass. If a king is being crowned in a movie, you'll hear brass. If your favorite hero is showing up, you'll hear a trumpet. The members of the brass club are the trumpet, the trombone, the French horn, the baritone, and the great big tuba at the bottom. A giant cuddly bear of the group. Want to know how they make their sound? Well, fun fact, I played the trombone in high school, so I'm pretty good at making this sound. They actually buzz their lips. I'm not kidding. They press their lips together and go right into a metal mouthpiece, and that buzz travels through all that twisty metal tubing, and boom, trumpet, tuba, trombone. And did you know the trombone is the only instrument in the whole orchestra that doesn't use buttons or valves to change its notes? It uses a slide. The player just extends their arm closer for the high notes, further away for those low notes. It's kind of like a musical telescope. I like that idea. All right, here's club number 3, the woodwinds. Now we tiptoe down to a different door. And inside this room, the sound is gentler, whistler, More like wind through trees, here we welcome the woodwinds, the poets and the songbirds of the orchestra. Their members? Well, that would be the flute, the clarinet, the oboe, the bassoon, and the tiniest one of all, the piccolo, which sounds like a sparrow with a microphone. Each woodwind has a totally different voice. The flute floats, but like a swan. The clarinet flows. The oboe? Oh, that oboe. Sounds a little nasal, a little duck, in the most beautiful way, though. And the bassoon is the deep, wise grandfather telling the stories that nobody else could tell. They all make sounds by blowing air, sometimes through a tiny piece of wood called a reed that wiggles when you blow on it, right? It creates that movement. Sometimes, like the flute, you blow across a hole, almost like blowing across the top of a soda bottle. You should try it sometimes. It's kind of fun. It makes really fun sounds. And here's a riddle for you, kiddo. The flute is in the woodwind family. But most modern flutes are made of metal, silver even. So why is it still in the wood club? Well, it's because long ago, flutes were made of wood, and the family name kind of stuck. The flute didn't have to leave its club just because it changed its outfit. And honestly, I think that's pretty sweet. Club number 4, the percussion crew. This is the last stop. We walk all the way to the back of the orchestra and we find the percussion, the heartbeat, the pulse, the wildest, busiest, most energetic club in the whole place. Members? Way too many to list. But here's the short version. Drums of every shape and size. Cymbals, yes. The triangle, yes. That little ting-ting triangle is a real orchestra instrument. The tambourine, the xylophone with its rainbow bars, big copper kettle drums called timpani, and kiddo, are you ready for the strongest one? An anvil, yes, like a real heavy blacksmith anvil, almost like it's dropping on the Roadrunner and the Wile E. Coyote, right? Okay, maybe you might be too young to get that reference. But it's the thing that they use to shape horseshoes. Clang! And believe it or not, it's a real orchestra instrument. In fact, did you know? A composer named Richard Wagner wrote an opera that uses 18 actual anvils all going at the same time. 18! Imagine standing in that audience. Clang, 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 like an entire blacksmith shop suddenly broke into song. The percussion club makes sound the simplest way of all. All you have to do is hit it, or you shake it, or you scrape it, or you bang on it. They are loud, but they are proud. And without them, the whole orchestra would lose its heartbeat. So that's the school. 4 clubs, strings, brass, woodwinds, percussion. Each one totally different, but each one totally needed to make something really cool, to make the whole school create something beautiful. Like I said, today is May 10th, and let's go over a little something that happened in history on May 10th. Well, in Pennsylvania in 1876, speaking of Richard Wagner, he composed his Grand Festival March for the opening of the Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia. Celebrated the 100th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That's pretty cool. And Philadelphian officials commissioned the piece, and conductor Theodore Thomas persuaded a reluctant Wagner to accept the $5,000 fee of the work. But he did say that the fee was a pretty cool part about it. The march was part of the major international exposition that drew nearly 10 million visitors to Philadelphia to celebrate America's independence. A pretty cool part of history. I recognize this song that he wrote. Yes, it was Richard Wagner who wrote the bridal chorus that you're listening to right now. I bet you didn't know that one. Okay, music makers, I think it is game time, and today we're playing Real or Ridiculous again. And here's how it works. I'm going to tell you 3 things about orchestra instruments. Some of them are absolutely true. Some of them are absolutely preposterous. And you have to shout out real or ridiculous. Got it? Okay, let's do this. Round 1. There's a real woodwind instrument called the contrabassoon, and it is so long, if you stretch straight, it would be 16 feet. That's longer than 2 grown-ups stacked head to toe, so they have to fold it up like a bendy straw just to be able to play it. Is this real or ridiculous? That one is real. 16 feet of folded up bassoon. I love it. Okay, round 2. The harp has 47 strings and 7 foot pedals. The harp player has to read music with their eyes, pluck strings with their fingers, and push pedals with their feet, all at the same time. What do you think? I don't know. That one's hard to believe. Is it real or ridiculous? That one is real. Harp players are basically wizards. 47 strings, friends. 47! You have to have really long arms. Okay, round 3. Last one. Some big orchestras have a special person on staff called a tuba whisperer, and their job is to play the tuba lullabies before every concert. Kind of a superstitious thing, but it's so that the tuba doesn't get cranky and squeak during the show. That one is ridiculous. Okay, I hope you got that. But oh my goodness, music makers, I had to make that one up. Tubas don't need lullabies, but I would absolutely watch a movie about that. Wouldn't you? Okay, friends, let's go on to our next section, what I am listening to this week. This one has a bit of a story behind it. I was cleaning out the closets in the school that I work at where I was in the music room, and I found these really old records. One of them was called The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. So I looked it up, and it was written by a composer named Benjamin Britten back in 1946, almost 8 years ago. And here's why I love it. He wrote it just for kids on purpose to introduce kids exactly like you to every single part of the orchestra, every single section. Here's how it works. He just takes one little melody, just one, and he passes it around the orchestra like a relay race. First, the whole orchestra plays it together, then just the woodwinds, then just the brass, then just the strings, then just the percussion. Each club gets their own turn in the spotlight. So here's your listening challenge for the week, kiddo. Find this piece. I bet your parents can help pull it up on Spotify or YouTube. Just search Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, and as you listen, see if you can name the family every time it switches. Is that the strings? Is that the brass? Is that the woodwinds? Ooh, what about the percussions? It's kind of like a treasure hunt for your ears, and I think you're going to love it. If today's episode got you curious, I have 2 listen back recommendations for you. First, go all the way back to episode 13. That was one of our very early episodes, and it's the original Guess That Instrument Family game. Now that you know all 4 of the clubs, take the quiz again, and I bet you'll get it every single one correct. Second, go listen to episode 121, our Celtic music episode, because here's something kind of cool. Those same 4 families show up in folk music too. The fiddle, that's a string. Bodhrán, that's the percussion. The tin whistle, woodwind. Same clubs, but a different kind of school. Now, before we go, I want you to do something for me. I want you to think about your own personality. If you were an instrument in the orchestra, which club do you think you would be in? Are you bold and confident like the brass? Do you love being the announcement, the big entrance that everyone hears coming? Are you expressive and feeling deep like the strings? Do you love stories that make your heart full? Or are you the steady and joyful heartbeat like the percussion? The kid that brings the energy and gets everybody dancing? Maybe you're quiet and thoughtful and a poet like the woodwinds. The one who notices the colors in the sky and the way the wind moves through the leaves. Here's what I want you to know, kiddo. There is no best club. There is no most important section. The strings need the percussion. The brass needs the woodwinds. The orchestra only works when every family shows up exactly as they are. And the same is true for you. The world doesn't need you to be a different kind of person. It needs the kind of person you already are. And I believe that with my whole heart. And I hope that you do too. That is our episode for today, music makers. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on the Greenhouse Music Podcast, the best music class you've ever heard. If you loved today's episode, please do me just a tiny little favor. Share it with a friend, tell your music teacher, or hop on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a little review. It helps other families find us, and I read every single one. Sometimes I get the chance to actually reply to them, and it's really cool. Okay, I will see you for a new episode in 2 weeks. Until then, keep listening, keep wondering, and keep making that music. Bye for now. Hey parents, do you want a free worksheet or book or page to go along with the lesson that your kids learned today? Head on over to green.myflowdesk.com/podcast to get our newsletter that will have a new worksheet or lesson to go along with each new episode. That's green.myflowdesk.com/podcast. The link is also available in the podcast description on each episode.